The night air felt heavier than usual, thick with the kind of silence that makes you feel watched even when you're alone. Ethan Miller zipped his jacket as a cold gust swept down the empty street. The moon hung low, a pale disk behind drifting clouds, lighting the path just enough to make the old school at the end of the block visible, a hulking, blackened structure with shattered windows and a playground long surrendered to rust. Jordan Reed kicked a loose stone, trying to hide the tremble in his voice. "Bro, I can't believe we're actually doing this." Emily Carter walked slightly behind them, her hands buried in her hoodie sleeves, eyes constantly scanning the darkened surroundings. "Because it's stupid," she whispered under her breath, though neither boy reacted. They were too focused on the building ahead. Westwood Elementary, abandoned for nearly 15 years after a fire took the life of a young girl during school hours. Her name was Sarah Whitlock. No one talked about what truly happened. Some said she was trapped accidentally. Some whispered she was locked inside deliberately. And some believed her spirit never left, doomed to wander the halls where she died. People claimed to hear her cries at night, claimed to see her shadow flicker through the classrooms, claimed to hear her footsteps pacing endlessly through the burned corridors. And the worst rumor, the one that scared adults just as much as kids if you play hide and seek inside Westwood at midnight. Sarah will join the game. Ethan had heard it 100 times. Jordan had laughed at it 100 times. Emily had feared it forever. Yet here they were. It was 11:52 p.m. when they reached the rusted gate. The hinges whined as Ethan pushed it open, the sound slicing through the stillness like a scream. "Damn, that's loud," Jordan muttered. "It's just metal," Ethan said, though his voice wavered. Emily stopped at the gate, staring at the shadowy building. "Guys, maybe we shouldn't." "That's why we are," Jordan said with a smirk. "Everyone is scared of this place. We'll film the whole thing, post it online, instant views." Emily swallowed hard. "What if the stories are true?" Jordan laughed. "Then she'll come play with us." Ethan elbowed him. "Not funny." "It's a joke, bro." But as they stepped inside the grounds, something shifted. The air turned colder. Their breaths came out in soft clouds. The swings creaked even though the wind was gone. A broken merry-go-round turned slowly on its own. Emily shivered violently. "Do you feel that?" Ethan nodded silently. There was something wrong about the atmosphere. Too quiet, too dead. They reached the main entrance. The doors were blackened by old fire damage, but still standing. Ethan pushed one gently, and it gave way with a long moan. A wave of cold air hit them as they entered. Inside, the darkness was suffocating. Their flashlights cut through layers of dust dancing in the air. The hall smelled faintly of smoke. The walls were charred. Ceiling tiles hung loosely or had fallen entirely. Jordan looked around with his phone recording. Okay, this is creepy. Like movie-level creepy." Emily grabbed Ethan's sleeve as something skittered across the far end of the corridor. They both froze. Jordan swung his flashlight. "What the hell was that?" "Nothing. Just darkness swallowing more darkness." Ethan checked his phone. 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes. "You guys know the rules," Ethan whispered, unable to hide his tension. Jordan nodded. "At exactly midnight, one of us counts. Others hide. Game lasts until everyone is found." Emily hugged herself. "I hate this. Why are we doing this?" Jordan forced a grin. "Because it's legendary." Ethan exhaled slowly, though his nerves rattled like loose wires. "We stay close. No going to the basement, no going to the burned zone." Emily glanced at the end of the corridor where scorch marks still stained the walls. "That's where she died." Ethan nodded. "So we stay away from that area." His voice felt small inside the hollow building. 11:59 p.m. The three of them stood in a small clearing near the center hallway, where sunlight used to pour in from an old skylight that was now covered in soot. Jordan pulled a bandana from his pocket. "I'll count first." Emily's heart dropped. "Do you really have to be blindfolded?" "It's part of the challenge." Ethan checked his phone. 12:00 a.m. A soft vibration passed through the floor. Lights on the far end flickered for a second, despite the building being completely disconnected from power. Emily stepped back. "What was that?" Jordan tied the blindfold. "It's midnight. The game starts." He placed his hand on the charred pillar and began counting. 1, 2, 3. Ethan grabbed Emily's hand. "Come on." They ran into opposite wings, Ethan to the left, Emily to the right. Their footsteps echoed unnaturally, swallowed quickly by the school's rotten stillness. Jordan kept counting, his voice echoing. 10, 11, 12. But then, faintly, barely audible, another voice whispered behind him. 13. Jordan's breath stopped. He pulled off the blindfold. There was no one. Ethan, Emily, cut it out. Don't mess with me. No answer. He slowly backed away from the pillar. Something felt wrong. Terribly wrong. The air around him felt thicker, like someone was breathing too close to his ear. Guys. A cold breeze passed behind him. A child's soft giggle floated through the hall. Jordan froze. The flashlight trembled in his hand. Ethan, I swear. Another giggle, this time from the burned wing. Jordan's stomach twisted. Nope, nope, hell no. He turned toward the main hallway. But someone whispered his name, Jordan. He spun. A little girl stood halfway down the hall, hair charred, skin blistered, dress melted in places, her face split, half human, half burned away. Jordan staggered backward, his voice cracking. Oh my God. She took a step forward, bare feet dragging. You didn't count right. Jordan screamed and ran blindly into a classroom, slamming the door behind him. Meanwhile, Ethan ran down the left corridor, trying to regulate his breathing. His flashlight flickered. Something brushed his shoulder even though nothing was near him. The walls groaned with every step he took. He found a hiding spot behind a fallen locker, crouching low. He turned off his flashlight. Darkness devoured him. His breath echoed too loudly. His heart pounded like footsteps. Then he heard footsteps that weren't his, small ones, light ones. They approached the classroom door. Ethan bit his lip until it bled, squeezing his eyes shut. The footsteps stopped just outside. A hollow whisper crawled through the darkness, "Found you." Ethan shook uncontrollably, but the footsteps suddenly turned away, fast running toward the other wing. Emily sprinted through the right corridor, every light flickering overhead. Her breath hitched as she passed walls where children's handprints were burned into the plaster. A broken speaker on the ceiling crackled. Then, softly, Emily, I see you. Emily screamed and darted into the music room, hiding behind the old piano. The strings inside hummed faintly, as if something touched them. Notes played themselves, soft, wrong, broken. Bang! Something slammed into the piano. Emily covered her mouth with both hands, tears falling silently. A soft hand brushed her hair from behind. She turned no one. Just the piano keys sinking one by one like invisible fingers tapping them. Emily crawled out from underneath and raced into the hallway, her flashlight beam shaking wildly. She ran into Ethan. He grabbed her, both gasping for breath. Where's Jordan? She cried. Ethan shook his head. He saw something. They heard a distant scream, Jordan's scream. They ran toward it, down the burned hallway. The floor was covered in ash, the walls black and peeling. Ethan gagged as smoke filled his lungs even though there was no fire. At the end of the hall, Jordan lay on the floor, clutching his chest, shaking violently. Jordan, Emily knelt beside him. His voice trembled. She was right there, Sarah. She touched me. Her hand was burning. A cold wind swept down the hallway. The ash on the floor stirred. Ethan's flashlight flickered. Sarah Whitlock appeared at the end of the burned wing, not walking, floating, her head tilted, fire flickering in her hollow eyes. Play with me. The three friends scrambled to their feet and ran back toward the main hall. The lights above them exploded one by one. Doors slammed shut violently. Lockers shook. A deep groaning vibration ripped through the building. Where do we go? Emily screamed. The principal's office. Ethan shouted. They reached it and slammed the door shut, pushing a desk against it. The lights flickered, then died. The room was swallowed in darkness. Jordan sobbed softly. We're gonna die in here. Emily hugged him tightly. No. Ethan paced the room, breathing heavily. There has to be a way, some way to break the game. But then they heard it, right outside the door, bare feet, dragging. A child humming a lullaby. Emily covered her ears, shaking. Please stop. Ethan grabbed a chair, ready to fight, though he knew it was hopeless. The humming stopped, silence. Then a burned hand slid under the door gap, palm down, fingers twitching violently. Emily screamed. Jordan fell backward. Sarah's voice seeped into the room like smoke. You hid from me, so now I hide from you. The hand vanished. Silence. The temperature rose sharply. The ceiling creaked. The floor vibrated. Then every door in the school swung open at once. A thunderous echo ripped through the halls, and Sarah's voice whispered, "Find me before I find you." The walls shook. The desk slid away from the door on its own. The handle twisted slowly. Ethan pushed against it desperately. Jordan helped him, crying, shaking, pushing with everything he had. Emily crouched in the corner, her eyes shut tight, whispering prayers under her breath. But then the handle stopped turning. Silence. Ethan stepped back slowly. Jordan collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Emily opened her eyes nervously. Nothing. No sound, no breathing, no footsteps. The entire school suddenly felt empty, too empty. Ethan peered through the window in the office door. The hallway was clean, completely clean. No ash, no scorch marks, no broken lights. It looked like a perfectly normal school hallway. "What the hell?" he whispered. Jordan stood slowly. "Is it over?" Emily wiped her tears. "Maybe she's gone." Ethan opened the door. They walked cautiously into the hallway. Everything looked untouched, spotless, perfect. Except every classroom door now had a small burned handprint on it. Ethan swallowed hard. "We need to leave now." They ran to the main exit. The door opened easily. Outside, dawn was breaking. Birds chirped. Cars moved. People walked. The world was normal again. They ran all the way to the street before turning back. Westwood Elementary stood silently, calmly. Ethan exhaled shakily. "I think we survived." Emily nodded weakly. Jordan laughed nervously. "Guess the rumors were..." The school door slammed shut violently. All three froze. A small burned handprint appeared slowly on the inside of the glass. Smoke curled from it. A child's voice drifted through the broken windows. Soft, loving, horrifying. "Next time I hide." And just like that, the horrible truth settled over them. The game wasn't over. It never ended. Sarah Whitlock was still playing, and she would always be playing. Forever.